Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide. Alright, finally I've had enough time to actually test out and record the in-depth review and a little bit of a guide to the all-new Boox Nova Air. Full disclosure, as I said during the unboxing, Boox were very kind enough to actually send me this review sample. Unfortunately, it needs to now go further, but I've managed to do all of the tests, document it, and here it is. So let's dive in. So, for those who don't know, this is the Nova Air 7.8-inch diagonal e-ink black and white screens eNote device. What does an eNote device do? Well, it's an e-reader, but it's also note-taking capable device. Now, Nova Air is the latest in the Nova series, which was Nova, Nova 2, Nova 3, and now Nova 3 Color was also added, and now we have Nova Air. Generally speaking, inside, this is almost an identical device like Nova 3, with the exception that Nova Air, because it's super thin and light, that's what the Air Focus or Airline Focus is, the battery is smaller at 2000 milliamps. But overall, a device like this is to be used for on-the-go note-taking, some light reading or comic book reading, book reading, and things like that. The small format is super portable and also very, very versatile. So that's the primary use of these types of devices. So let's talk about the design and the build quality of the Nova Air. And yeah, let's not beat around the bush. For me personally, this is the nicest Nova device ever released, and it feels like it's the best built Nova device. You can definitely feel and see that it's not just an iterative update, at least as far as the outside goes. Same as the Note Air was not just an iterative update when compared to the Note line of the devices. I'm really happy that they are expanding their Air line, and yeah, I've spent close to a month now with the Nova Air, and the design and the build quality and everything is just spot on. I couldn't find anything wrong with it at all. So on the top you have a flush screen, of course, you have this thin bezels on the side, equal with bezels on the other side, so that it actually can work equally well in any orientation, landscape or portrait. The bezel around the screen is the same color as the screen surface itself, which provides for a very, very stylish look, very modern look as well. It gives us this kind of a slate, not tablet, but a writing slate type of a look, which is something that I really like. And also it helps with readability and clarity, because your eyes are not battling the contrast and silhouettes of the frame. So the only silhouettes that you're actually noticing are basically the content of the screen, which is definitely good. On the front, there are no buttons, there's no sensors, there's nothing. The back is actually improved metal alloy. I don't know what it actually contains, but this, even though it doesn't look like it because it's not super shiny and stuff like that, it is a fully metal bucket here. So the entire Nova and the screen, they go into this metal bucket, which has this kind of speckled, relieved kind of design, which yeah, my first impressions were, ooh, I like this, it's not such a big problem, and I can confirm it's not a problem, for me at least, not a problem at all. I really, really like it, and I've heard from a couple of users also who got their Nova Airs, and they seem to be liking it as well. So yeah, fully metal construction here, but it is improved, and it's not just aluminum, it's an alloy of some sort, and it feels very, very sturdy and very well designed. Build quality is absolutely spotless, of course. That's something that we have now come to expect from Boox devices. And for the price range, and in this price range, you will be hard pressed to find a better build quality device of a, say, 7.8 inch, for example. On the top, we have the power button with the LED indication, multicolor LED, I believe. Nothing on either of the sides. And on the bottom, we have this time stereo speakers, which is the first time that we have actually a stereo speaker on a Nova device. On Nova 3, it was just a mono. On Nova 2, no speakers. And we have a microphone, and we have a USB-C for charging and data communication. Another addition is this improved magnet, and this is the indication. I think they solved it very, very nicely, because users are sometimes confused or stubborn that they want to attach a magnetic pen where they want to attach it, which doesn't always yield the best results. But now when you have actually an indication of where the symbol, where the magnet is, and you have a matching symbol here on the pen, then it's an effortless thing, and then you have a good contact. One of the main focuses of the Nova Air's redesign is basically two things: to achieve lightness, which they most definitely did at 235 grams. It's really, really light and super comfortable to use in the hand. And the second one was thinness, and that one they've also achieved, because at 6.3 millimeters with the front light, this is definitely the thinnest Nova, and I believe the thinnest 7.8 inch device out there. So those two things combined on a portable design like this really do make a difference. At least for me, they definitely do. My impression is that the Boox Nova Air is the best looking and the best designed and the best built and the best feeling Boox device they have launched to date. Very close second is the Note Air. So yeah. Specifications are pretty much identical to the Nova 3. So we have the same e-ink Carta Plus 7.8 inch touch, which is both inductive and capacitive. It runs the standard resolution of 1872 by 1404, which means 300 ppi. We got 16 shades of gray with the snow field function. So everything standard. It has the Moonlight 2 front light, which is the dual front light, which is also adjustable. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, all the same things. 8-core, 1.8 gigahertz CPU, 3 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage, out of which you get around 26 available. As I said, dual speakers, which is a difference compared to the Nova 3. USB-C normally for connectivity, multitude of formats are supported. Wi-Fi is supported for both 5 GHz and 2.4 GHz. And the second biggest difference here is that while the Nova 3 and the Nova 2, they had a battery of 3150 capacity, this one is 2000 milliamps capacity. However, that smaller battery also means that we have a much thinner device and a much lighter device. So basically the differences spec-wise between the Nova 3 and the Nova Air are smaller battery on the Nova Air. Nova Air is a thinner device and a lighter device, and Nova Air has dual speakers. Overall, the specifications are really, really good for this type of a device, and I think that it has plenty of oomph and plenty of power to tackle pretty much most of the tasks that you would expect this type of a device to be able to handle. Nova Air retails at $349 US without tax. So when you choose an international shipping, you will probably see that as a listed in price. But for example, if you choose a US reseller, then the price will be $389. And I believe that the price difference is there because of the tax. I'm not entirely sure, but that's something that you have to kind of keep in mind. So as I said, the Nova Air is equipped with the same exact screen that was shipping with Nova 2 and Nova 3. However, there are a couple of differences. First, the specifications of the screen, I already said it. 7.8 inches, black and white, 16 shades of gray, 1872 by 1404 at 300 ppi. Now, what are the differences? Well, the major difference with the Nova Air is that it comes with a screen protector, paper feel-like screen protector, pre-applied in the factory, which is a fantastic thing for writing, of course, but some people are always going to be concerned, and it's a valid concern, to see how does it actually compare to the image quality without the screen protector. Now, I am all for this change. This is something I've been very vocal about, because I maintain that it's far easier to take off a screen protector if you don't want to use it than it is to actually apply it in your regular home conditions without the air bubbles and the dust and all that kind of stuff. We simply don't have the conditions to do this kind of a job. Before I get on to the comparison with the Nova 2 screen and seeing how does it compare image-wise, let's first check the image quality of the Nova Air. I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see quite nicely. The contrast is excellent, handling of the gray shading. Oh, this is in speed mode, because when you are in normal mode, then you will have, I believe it's using Regal or something like that. So then you have this kind of a banding type of a thing up here. So for viewing images, the speed mode, for me at least, is the best one. And it really provides for a beautiful type of an image quality that resembles paper quite a lot. The clarity of text on colors or gray type of content is really good, despite its small size. Don't forget that it has those 300 ppi, which provides for a very crisp type of an image. So even when it's something super tiny, you are still able to kind of see it normally. Now, provided with the additional control that's actually added for display control, so you can increase the color contrast if you want, you can decrease the color contrast, you can apply the light color filter as well, so that you can get that text, for example, to pop out even more. So this text is super uber tiny, but even as such, it is completely readable and usable, especially when you couple it with the possibility to adjust the display control. So let's see a couple of examples of the images, how they look like on the Nova Air. Overall, I'm really pleased with the picture quality on the Nova Air. I wasn't expecting anything less, but I was also, as others, kind of wondering how does the screen protector affect the tiny text, the colors and all that kind of stuff. So if I'm not comparing it side to side, for me the general image quality is really good, and something that I've come to expect from Nova series of devices. However, let's now compare it back to back and see what the difference is in image quality when you have that screen protector on. Alright, so we have Nova 2 here without a screen protector, and we have a Nova Air with the factory pre-applied screen protector. I have the same exact system display controls set up on both devices, and same exact Neo Reader contrast controls set up on both of the devices, and both devices are running in speed mode. And I have the front light now turned off on both of the devices, so that we have exactly the same conditions on both devices and that we can make a fair comparison. So let's just start flipping through the pages and see the levels of ghostings, and then I'll clear it up so that you can see the overall image quality and all that kind of stuff. So from what I can see, first of all, obviously and expected, the performance of Nova Air is better than Nova 2 as far as flipping pages and all that kind of stuff goes. But we're testing the screen here, and from what I can see, it's the same exact screen quality, same exact screen performance. The only difference is that we have a slight layer on top, and from what I can perceive here is that it does not really affect the clarity of the image at all. It does lessen the contrast just a tiny little bit, but if you really wanted to, you have the controls and then you can compensate for that. But we're talking about very fine differences. There's definitely not a huge impact because of the screen protector or anything like that. So yeah, there's a tiny bit more clarity on the Nova 2, but only if you're really paying attention. For me, for a regular daily use, that's not something that I can call a noticeable difference. So screen-wise, you get the same excellent performance as you would get on the other devices. You get the screen protector pre-applied, bubble-free, dust-free, and all that kind of stuff. And on top of it all, you get this screen-colored gray outline, which actually helps with the ease of perception and basically just makes it look almost like a paper kind of a surface. It doesn't look like a tablet, and that's something that I really highly value. The screen surface reflectivity is really good, so it dulls down the reflections. These are super strong lights, so this is a slightly weaker light. You can see how the reflections are dulled down and yeah, made nice and blurry. And again, if we compare this, for example, Nova 2, which has true AG glass, here we go. So there is a higher intensity in reflections on the screen protector than there is on a true AG glass. So it's not something that I truly noticed when I was working with it, but when we're testing it here back to back, the difference is quite clear. So the diffusion level is pretty much the same, but the reflection intensity definitely higher on the Nova Air because of that screen protector. Because screen protectors usually on these devices, and when compared to true AG glass, they usually have an inferior performance to a true AG glass. So that's also something to be expected. Also, what I do notice is that pinpoint lights, I've been trying to kind of capture that, but I'm not able to capture it. Maybe you can see here pinpoint lights, that you can see them there from that other light, but on the version with the screen protector, those pinpoint lights or the sharpness of the reflections is gone. So yeah, the reflections are more diffused on the Nova Air with the screen protector than they are on a Nova 2, but then again their intensity is a little bit stronger than it is on the no screen protector version. So you can choose what you will. I choose to always have the screen protector on because it gives a fantastic feeling for writing, which is something we'll get to very shortly. Alright, so now we know that the Boox Nova Air is basically Nova 3 with a smaller battery and with some other things added. But that smaller battery is something that everybody was kind of wondering about. Yes, it is a smaller battery than Nova 3. Obviously, Nova 3 has 3150 milliamps. This one has 2000 milliamps. But the good news is that the battery life in Nova 3 was absolutely insanely exceptional, which means that Nova Air battery life is exceptional. It's not absolutely insanely exceptional, but it is exceptional. So nevertheless, I have made all of the tests, and here are the things that you can expect and what are the results. So there's two categories of tests that I was doing, the reading and writing. So for the reading, I would put the reader into auto slideshow mode and then, extrapolate the values, and I would repeat it 3 times, once without the front light, the second time with the front light at 30%, and then the front light at 100% to kind of see how big of an impact that front light is, because objectively it is, or supposed to be, the biggest consumer. Then I also repeated the same test with the Nova 2, because Nova 2 has the same exact battery and the same battery results as the Nova 3, so it's basically the same device, and compared those results. And then I also did 1 hour of continuous writing, and I did that with the front light at 30% and front light at 0 to compare those results as well. As a reader, with the front light at 0, so completely turned off, you can expect to get around 100 hours of reading from the Nova Air. With the front light at 30%, you are looking at around 33-34 hours of continuous use, and when you bump up that front light all the way to 100, then of course the battery life drops because it's a huge consumer, and then you can then you're looking at an estimate of 9.1 hours. The brightness of this front light is so extreme that I've never found myself boosting it over 30% ever. So while you certainly can and you have the capacity to do that, in reality, I've never found myself having to need that at all. So that's just my 2 cents as far as that goes. Now with the writing, there was actually a very interesting result. The first test I did with the front light at 50%, and it averaged out around 18% per hour of spending the battery, which was around 5.6 hours per charge. And then I lowered the front light to 0 or disabled it, and again, it averaged 18% per hour, which again is those 5.6 hours per charge. So that number is definitely lower. I would expect this to be much higher, but that's an indication that something else is drawing the battery, because we didn't have any difference in the battery consumption whether I had front light at 50% or at 0. And I repeated the test several times and I got the same results every single time. So I'm inclined to think that this is a software side of things doing something more or something unnecessary, and therefore it's actually drawing more battery life while you're doing the writing thing. So I don't know what it could be, but as it is now, that's how the battery life stands. So excellent reading battery capacity and performance, not so good on the writing performance. So at the moment there's something going on, and you're looking at around 5 to 6 hours of continuous writing time. Now, for me personally, anything that can get me through the entire day without a charge is great, but in the world of e-ink devices, we are grown to and accustomed to expecting that threshold of around at least 8 or 10 hours so that the device can go through a longer workday without the charge. And that's definitely something that the Nova Air should be able to deliver. Currently it doesn't, but I'm fairly certain that this is a software thing and that coming updates will fix this, and then we will have battery results with the writing experience side of things more in line with the rest of the devices. Now, the Nova Air comes with a, what they say, a completely redesigned new Boox new pen for the Nova Air. At the first glance, it looked exactly the same as the pen that I got with my Note Air, which is the pen that I really didn't like. It had a lot of problems. First problem was that the magnets didn't work. That one has been addressed because now we have super strong magnets both on the device and on the pen, and it actually is not gonna go anywhere. No, oh, okay, so I have to be borderline dropping the device, throwing it out of my hands until this goes away. So yeah, absolutely improved for sure. The precision of manufacturing is just ever so slightly finer because it has so many grooves and things like that. You can actually feel that there's a little bit of a difference here, and this pen feels it. But the biggest problem that I had with the original pen was that the nib itself felt horrible, and it was super glidey, super hard, super all of those things, and it just didn't work. And the additional problem is that the nibs themselves, they use this kind of a different standard. You see this little kind of tapering off, which means that you can't use other nibs to easily replace them. So you're kind of stuck with this basically. However, I immediately noticed differences when I started writing on the Nova Air. First of all was the writing feel. and the tactile basically, yeah, feedback. So I was going to be attributing that to the screen protector, but one thing was confusing me because I was trying out the old pen as well on other screen protectors before, and it never felt as good as this one. And then I took the original pen and this one and tried it on the Nova Air, and the difference was very, very clear. So even though that the new pen looks like the old pen, it is miles ahead of what the old pen was. So the looks can be deceiving. This pen has much better precision, much better pressure sensitivity and control, but above all, it's not that super slippery kind of a thing, which is this thing that I really, really didn't like. So the nibs have been improved as well. And also, I didn't have a nib bending problem, which is something that I had on the previous pen. So apparently, they have made major improvements with this pen. And to be quite honest, while I was using the Nova Air, this is the very first time with the Boox device that I am happy with the default pen. So I can wholeheartedly say, if you buy a Nova Air, the pen that you get with it is really, really good, and it feels great and it writes great. Two problems as far as I'm concerned: it doesn't have an eraser or a button for an eraser, and the second thing is, it's pure white. Why pure white? It could have been so beautiful if it was the same gray color, because then it would match it so nicely and it would be the same part of the device. But yeah, so yeah, but those are minor gripes. I mean, at the end of the day, the writing feel and the comfort level, that's what actually counts, and this pen really, really delivers. So don't be fooled by the looks of it, that it looks the same as the old pen. Yes, it does, but it's nothing like the other one. It's a lot better. So the writing experience on the Nova Air is, or can easily be summed up in one word: it's excellent. It's fast, it's precise, it's responsive, it does exactly what I want it to do, it sounds right, it feels right, has the right amount of pressure, the right amount of hardness, right amount of friction, all of these things. So this is the very first time that a Boox device, out of the box, without the requirement of buying a different pen, different nib, or a screen protector or anything, you just buy the device, you get it out of the box, and you start writing, and that the writing experience and feel is excellent. So that to me is a huge testament of how Boox is actually listening to their customers and how they are trying to improve their products. Now, for those who are new to the Boox platform, the Boox platform has really extensive capabilities. Now, as far as the note-taking goes, I'm just going to go very quickly through all of these. I'm not going to show you in detail how they work. I'm just going to describe what they are. So at the top, you have your regular toolbar, where you can change the name of your notebook, or if you press the arrow, you can exit the notebook. If you press the arrow on the side, you have the access to your recent notes, so that everything is very quick. The synchronization cloud is basically to synchronize with your cloud account. Then you have word search, which Boox platform supports, undo, redo, and page navigation. Now this one has only one page, but if you press on a number, then you can jump to a certain page, etc, etc. On the left side, we have our main toolbar, which is filled with a lot of goodies. First of all, you have the full screen, expand, or collapse. When you are in full screen mode, you will have this floating toolbar. The toolbar can be long pressed and repositioned where you want it to be. And you also have this icon here to collapse it to the side. In addition, there's also an option of choosing not to even show this option, where you will be able to simply swipe from the side and then the toolbar will be shown. The toolbar itself can be customized, so it can contain different tools by doing the customized toolbar, and then you can drag and drop different tools to actually be contained there. And you can choose if you want it to be in the horizontal or vertical. We have the page layout or page management of the document. So here you can select pages, you can duplicate pages, copy, paste, rearrange, move them, all sorts of things, and share pages and export pages or the entire document. So basically this is your notebook management, pages management area, where you have a lot of things that you can do. Then next to it we have the layer capability. The bottom layer was always going to be the templates, so you're going to be able to choose among multiple templates. And one of the big benefits of a Boox platform is that it supports out of the box local or your own custom templates that you can just place into a specific folder, and there you go, then you're done. And you have also additional templates here on the cloud. Then we have the canvas control, so you can adjust the canvas so that that you can write, if this is not enough for you, then you can split it into two views, so that this is just one view and then you have another one here. So you can have the options of having vertically 2 pages per page, so to speak, or a landscape version, 2 pages per page, etc., or a custom size. Basically get the feeling that you're working on a larger document than it is displayed just here. Then we have 5 different pen options. This would be the example of a pen. And this is the pressure sensitivity that I talked about, that the pen itself, this new improved pen, is finally able to utilize a much bigger range of the pressure sensitivity than what we had before. So if I go to the brush itself, it goes much thicker. Still, it could get a little bit more sensitive. It doesn't go all the way down, but I think that has to do with the brushes themselves, not the pen. The ballpoint pen, I'm not sure if it's pressure sensitive. No, ballpoint pen is not pressure sensitive. And then we have the graphite pencil, which is okay. I mean, it has been improved a little bit, but it would definitely benefit from more pressure sensitivity. So that pencil, while it's trying to do something nice and it's achieving some of the things, it's not there yet as far as the remarkable goes, but it is getting there. It's getting to be quite closer, and you are able to kind of get very nice results. It's just that the pressure sensitivity is too dark. We would need a bigger range of pressure sensitivity on this one to be even better. And then of course you have your marker, which is, or highlighter, which is basically just highlighting on top of stuff. Underneath the brush options, you have the geometric shapes options, and you can choose between a multitude of geometric shapes and styles how these lines will be. So that's something that's kind of new. So let's say I flip to the next page and I create a square. I can create a square with a full line, but I can also have it as this kind of a style. So that when I draw it, and when it's drawn, you can see that it's actually with these lines. And then I can say, hey, I didn't really like that. I would like it to be of a thicker line. So I make it with much thicker, and then we just draw it again, and there you go. So this is a very powerful addition in combination with the canvas and everything. Under the shapes, we have the eraser function, and the eraser function can be a normal mobile eraser, which works as a brush. You can have a stroke eraser, area eraser, erase current layer, or erase all layers. The performance of it is good. So some of the users will know that maybe that Remarkable has some issues with how the eraser actually functions. In this case, that's not the case. I can, for example, select this, and now move it, and I won't have the erase strokes appear on top of the other content, which is a problem with Remarkable, for example, and they still haven't fixed that, which is really weird. But anyway, you can also choose to have a stroke eraser, which is by far my personal favorite, and you can also have the area eraser, normal stuff of how it works. So yeah, all the regular things. Under the eraser, we have the color options, and you have the option to choose between black, different gradients of grayscale, white, and then red, green, and blue colors. And even though this is a black and white display, the Boox note-taking app allows you to actually write and annotate even the PDFs and the notebooks in red, green, or blue colors. And once you actually export that to a PC, then the red color is going to be in red, the blue in blue, and the green in green. Next to it, we have the selection tool, which, yeah, basically just you draw a selection and you have a marquee selection here. Another thing that's also useful to kind of know, I don't know if people know about this trick, once you're in the select mode, you're also able to simply tap on a stroke, one continuous stroke, and it will select it for you. So that's something that's really, really useful. So you can either draw a selection, or tapping on a stroke will select a stroke. So once you have a stroke selected, then you can move it, you can scale it. You can do non-uniform scale as well, which is quite interesting. So you can actually scale it any way you want by using these little circles on the side now. This was not always the case, so it's really, really cool that we have that option now. And the upper here control is for rotating the selection set. Now the selection set can also, it has these functions on top. We can have vertical mirroring, we can have horizontal mirroring, undo, redo. You can change the color of a selection or selected stroke to any of the regular colors. You can duplicate it, you can copy paste it, you can delete it, and you can also add tap this to select everything, right? And then manipulate the whole page as a selection set. We have our zooming tools, so you can have manual zoom, marquee zoom, touch to zoom. You can pinch to zoom, turn it on or off. So if I turn it on, then I can normally use pinch to zoom in and zoom out my content. And you also have the ability to fit on screen, and plus you have this slider now here, which will zoom about where you currently are. When you are in a zoomed state, a single press will basically pan around, and that's pretty much it. Underneath it, we have the text box, so you can always add a text box as a content to your notebook. You can scale the text box, and then you can dictate content into it if you want to. You can change the font size, justification, alignment, color, bold, underline, italic, special symbols, copy paste, and of course trash if you no longer want it. So really, really powerful features there as well. And that's not all. Then you can also add voice clips to your notebook. So now, for example, I am recording what I'm saying here. It's automatically going to record, and once I'm actually done with that, I can press stop. Now we can just name it whatever we want. You can use the tap option of selection tool to actually select it and then reposition it wherever you want. Additional options that you have for it are you can actually access them by tapping on the recording. I can pause it, and then I can change things, for example, what's it called and on which layer it will be. Now here I can rename it to Note, and once that's done, I go back, and now it should say Note. Yeah, so now it says Note here. So it's something that really, really works well, and I I love that option. It's an amazing thing to actually have. Underneath it, we have the text recognition, or the OCR capability. So this one works in two modes. The original recognition, which is going to try and recognize the content and put it in text boxes and try to rearrange it the way the original page was rearranged. So if I do this, it's going to convert. And of course, this takes some time depending on the complexity. And right now, he's most definitely confused with the scribbles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is how the default Air PA works on the Nova. Fast, sound precise, and feels good. Honestly, I didn't want to use so it didn't really manage to do much. It got, because I'm scribbling really, really badly. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. If you want the OCR capability to work, you need to keep that in mind, and you need to write in a more clear manner. So you saw the results there. Let's just show the other one, reflow, when it actually recognizes, and then there we go. So the results are the same. It's just that it's trying to kind of arrange it in one line. However, if I now go to another page and I write more clearly, let's do AI recognition, original one. Let's see how the OCR is able to perform, and if I more write cleanly, more dearly, if that is a word. It's not really performing as well as it could and as it should. So this is something that is a bit of a problem, because it's not able to do the recognition properly. This is something where I wish we would actually see a bit more of an improvement, because some platforms are starting to be quite a bit better, especially, for example, MobiScribe Origins. That one is by far the best as far as the text recognition goes. So this is an area where clearly Boox could improve and should. Next to that, we have the finger touch, or the touch responsiveness, on or off. Basically, this is the one that you want to use if you have palm rejection issues. However, be aware that then the gestures are off. When you're in touch disabled mode, you would flip through pages like this, and that's pretty much it. So that's what you can do. We have full screen refresh, and then we have additional options where we can add a new page, delete page, save the notebook, export the notebook as PDF or PNG, we can share it, insert images, manage our recordings, swap left and right where our toolbar is going to be, on the left or on the right sides, and we can also customize the main toolbar as well by dragging and dropping elements and rearranging them. So really, really comprehensive capabilities here as far as note-taking abilities go. So overall, the writing experience is really, really good on the Boox platform and on the Nova Air. It's excellent. So we have the responsiveness, we have the precision, we have the pressure sensitivity, the feel, the tactileness, everything is there. The only thing that definitely could use some improvement is the AI recognition, but that has nothing to do with the model itself. That's basically a platform dependent feature. As far as the model itself goes, excellent, excellent writing experience. Nova Air also performed very, very nicely on the D.E.S.T.A test. As you can see from the actual test footage, it's really, really fast. But when I calculated the results, I was very much surprised to see it all the way up there, right behind QuirkLogic Paper. For all intents and purposes, it's as fast as QuirkLogic Paper at 42 milliseconds or 42.7 milliseconds of latency. But most importantly, out of all the Novas, Nova Air is the fastest one. Now, as far as the screen space distance goes, it's fairly standard affair. 1 unit, roughly equivalent around 1 millimeter of distance between the surface of the screen and the actual screen underneath it, which is a standard for any device that is equipped with a front light. So no big surprises there. Reading experience is really powerful on the Boox platform. Now this has been covered so many times, so I'm just gonna rush over it so that you know exactly what you have. First of all, I love using the reading, or when I read things, I'm in speed mode simply because the refresh speeds are super fast and it also displays images in a much nicer manner. Now, the navigation is done by tapping. You're not supposed to swipe, even though you can, but the swiping is reserved for other types of gestures. So, for example, you have the tap to the side to go forward and back. You can tap in the middle to get additional options, and you can tap in the upper right corner to bookmark a page or not. Pinch to zoom by default doesn't work. You have to enable it in settings. So that's something that you do by tapping in the middle. You go to the additional options, settings, other settings, enable pinch to zoom. So again, it's really worthwhile exploring these options and knowing what you are looking for. And if you are looking for more details, check out my Boox Max Lumi review, because there I cover all of these things in super details. So all of the functionalities are exactly the same. Some of the stuff has been improved, such as OCR capability, but everything is exactly the same as it was back then. So you have extensive formatting capabilities, navigation, split view. You can use it in a split view, which doesn't make much sense on a smaller format, but you do have it. Table of contents that has the extensive capabilities, such as organizing your bookmarks, annotation, scribbles, and all of these kinds of things, and it can also export it. Again, I don't want to repeat myself. Check out Max Lumi review, reader experience, and all of the details are there. What are the additions that are useful with the Nova? Well, first of all, it can now speak to you because it has speakers, so that's kind of cool.
Chapter 1. Theory and Harmony. A thorough understanding of intervals is of the utmost importance in studying all types of music, as intervals are the building blocks of polyphonic music. Each interval has vastly different sound characteristics % and must be one.
That's okay, you don't have to get stressed and read that quickly. And this is something that I wanted to see. So this is a rather large EPUB, but you can, navigation is really quick. It supports embedding the original layout. All right, fine, I'm switching to the V2. Yeah. All right, and now when it's done, I can just normally use it and switch to whichever place I want to go, and it's really fast. I get my chapter displayed here exactly where I'm at. I can switch between chapters, so I can just skip between chapters and all that kind of stuff. The thing that's important is the speed of the device. So even though this is a very large document, it's super responsive in actually changing the formatting, emboldening, and all of these kinds of things. So a very snappy device and a super capable reader. Additional thing is that the Neo reader is handling both EPUBs and PDFs, and you can have multi-tab option turned on, where I can just now switch between a PDF or an EPUB on the fly super easily, and it's able to handle this without any problems whatsoever. So that's an additional thing that just makes it that much more powerful. And of course, you have the ability to enable the quick scribble to add your notes here, which is really cool. Again, all of the capabilities and how it works you can check in the Max Lumi in-depth review. And one last thing, when we're talking about the library itself, I have the Big Books guide, which actually talks about this, specific things. So that's something that you might also be interested in, to go through those videos, because it explains the library options, how it functions, how to set it up, and all of those things in details. Overall, exceptionally good reader capabilities of the Boox platform, and they are inherited by the Nova Air naturally. Nova Air uses Android 10 like the all of the other Boox devices that are of a newer date, and as such it holds a lot of power, but it also, you've probably noticed by now, has a ton of, you know, in-depth options, and sometimes they're not placed where you would expect them to be, etc., etc. All of that results in a platform that absolutely requires a learning curve of some sort. I mean, this is a typical example for example. So you can go here and yeah, you can see that I'm now in directory mode, but I can switch to a scan mode, and then everything suddenly looks different, but not the same. And then you have options here, you have additional options there, so you can just, like, it's easy for a newcomer to get lost in all of this. This is one of the reasons why I started the big Boox guide series, something that I will hopefully continue on when I have some more time, because currently I'm completely swamped. But most of the most important stuff is already being covered there, so you're good to go, like to start at least. But yeah, you got to be aware of that. One of the bad things, or one of the shortcomings of the Boox platform, is that yes, it offers great flexibility and great power to actually make it a completely flexible Android tablet, but it does come at a price that it is a little bit complicated, and it does require for you to learn how to use it, and there is a learning curve to these devices. Nova Air, like the rest of the Nova devices, supports the USB OTG capability, so you are able to hook up a hub, and it will of course power up, it will receive power. You can also use power pass-through, same functionality as on the other devices, and if you add storage, it will eventually recognize it very quickly, and then it's like, yep, I want to open it up using my file manager, and there we go, I have my SanDisk USB. So I'm gonna allow access, and now it actually is able to just normally go through my 64 gigabyte little drive, which is added there. More to the point, you are able to use any file browser application that you may want to use. Basically, what I can get with the USB OTG out of Boox devices is storage fairly reliably, and peripheries such as keyboard, for example. So those are the things. Nothing really has changed. It has been the same like that for a very long time, and power pass-through will depend on the USB hub. So on this one, for example, I'm not able to get power pass-through and a USB drive, but some other users had some hubs where it actually works. So same USB OTG functionality as you will find on the rest of the Boox range. It's also very much worth noting that we have the Bluetooth capability, so you can hook up a Bluetooth wireless keyboard to your Boox Nova Air, or your headphones or something like that. All of these things work as you would expect them to. As I already mentioned in the reader experience, and it's been shown in other videos as well, so please refer back to them. Text-to-speech definitely works. We have actually shown that, so the device can read to you, and because it has speakers, it's definitely loud enough. And with the stereo speakers, actually, the sound is quite good and loud enough that you could potentially also listen to music. I mean, of course, like, this kind of a thin device is not going to have any bass or anything like that, but it's sufficient for a conversation or something like that, for example. Then you also have the ability, if you use a keyboard, a virtual keyboard that supports that, you can voice to text. That's also a very, very powerful feature. What other capabilities does the Boox platform have? We have the ability of a system-wide split screen. Now, in order to demonstrate that, I need to be in an app, already in an app that supports that. So I am now in the Reader app. I go to split screen, enter split screen, and then it's going to ask me, okay, what else do you want to use on the other side? And on the other side, you can choose between the notebooks. So I can just open up a new notebook and then start adding my notes here in parallel as I'm reading. Or you can add a different app depending on which apps you have installed and which apps are supported, because not all of them will support this. So you can have your file manager, your browser, or Comixology, for example, or something like that. Definitely super functional, but on a limited screen size like this, the usability of it needs to be kind of taken into consideration. It's like, can I use this or not? And another thing that this platform has is the ability to use screen record. So I can start recording and I can do my doodling and things like that if you want, and then it saves it as an MP4, which is again a file that you can easily share with someone else. So for example, so I can start my recording and now it's doing screen grab, and you can see that the performance is still exactly the same. So I can lower it, and let's go to 2, for example, and now I can take my notes. And the interesting thing that I haven't tested, and I'm going to test now, is what happens if I try to add a recording as well and reposition it here while doing screen recording. Is it going to be able to record the sound or not? Is it going to be able to replay the sound? So let's see. Let's now press stop. Okay, let's select our recording, move it down here, and let's trigger the recording. Now is what happens if I try to add a recording as well and reposition it here while doing screen recording. Is it going to be able to record the sound or not? Is it going to be able to replay the sound? All right, and now we stop our screen recording, and now I instantly am able to share it if I wanted to. So it records in this way. Is it absolutely perfect and smooth? No, but I would much rather have this type of a compromise, that it records this a little bit later and that it sets priority that my whole tablet is functioning properly and that the screen recording is secondary. So for me, that definitely works. Things that it's not recording is it doesn't record the microphone, perfectly fine with me, and it's able to, but it is recording the system sounds. So as you saw when you started the playback, it actually worked. And then this file, of course, can be shared. It's an MP4 file and it can be shared any way you like. Really powerful feature for such a small package. And finally, we also have the screencast option, which uses Miracast. The limitations are it's not that reliable. It's like really difficult sometimes to establish a connection. When it works great, but there are also plenty of situations where it simply won't be able to recognize the device to cast to and all that kind of stuff. So it's not the ideal solution. Plus it works only on Windows 10 and Mac OS is not supported, Android is not supported, etc, etc. So while the feature is great that it's there, it's limited functionality in real world. But then again, you have the freedom of going to the Google Play Store and downloading any other screen sharing app that actually has more compatibility and works better than the screen share. So you have that as, of course, as extra functionalities. And let's not forget that this is a full-blown Android tablet. So you can have a Kindle reader, you can have Kobo reader, you can have all of these kinds of things. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that third-party note-taking apps will not work properly. I mean, they will work, but the latency is going to be unusably slow. This is not due to the device, this is due to the apps themselves, because they are not using the screen refresh methods or instructions which are needed to be used for an e-ink enabled device. So far there's only one device on the market that's able to overcome this in a very smart way, and that is the Boox Nova Air. You can check out that review also on mydeepguide, where they have like a system-wide override, and they're basically projecting what you write. You see what you're writing and then they project it or embed it into an app. A very smart way to overcome that. But so far as I know, that's the only device out there and the only platform out there that's able to overcome this third-party programs, note-taking programs not supporting e-ink screen refresh methods. So that's something to keep in mind. Note-taking is best done in the native apps. But as far as reading goes, yeah, Comixology, Kindle, Kobo, all of it just works as you would expect it to. Alright, it's the conclusion time for the Boox Nova Air, and as usual we start with the cons. First con for me would have to be the battery performance when writing. The results when reading were really good and exceptional. However, the writing portion, as I said, had some issues, and currently that is a con. Thankfully, this looks like it's a software kind of thing that can be improved, because the discrepancy is simply too big when compared to Nova 3, Nova 2 and everything else, and especially telling was that front light that it didn't really have a real effect on the battery consumption when writing. So that all of those things put together kind of give an indication that it looks like it's a software thing, which is a good thing, because in the future it's very likely that this can be drastically improved. However, as it is now, that is most definitely a con to be aware of. The second con, which is a standard con that I always mention with Boox devices, and that's a pro and a con, it's an Android 10 environment, and an Android 10 environment is complicated and it has a learning curve. So it requires of the user to actually learn how to use the device, what are the options there, and all of these kinds of things. It's probably something that won't fit for everyone's needs, because not everybody is willing to learn. That's as simple as that. However, yeah, you have to be aware that the learning curve is there, and if you want to tap into this device completely and to use its potential to the maximum, that's definitely something to kind of keep in mind. Another con for me is that the AI, the OCR text recognition of handwritten notes, is not that good, and if I'm honest, I think it degraded a little bit. I remember it being more precise and it actually worked a little bit better, but now when I start testing it and kind of check it out and I compare to my previous tests, it's actually recognizing less words, which is kind of weird. So no matter what I did, I couldn't get proper text recognition to happen, and that most definitely wasn't the case, let's say, a year ago or a little bit more. So AI recognition seems to be degrading a little bit on a Boox device, especially on the Boox platform, and that most definitely is a con. And finally, the price. It's $350 for a 7.8-inch black and white note-taking device. Granted, it is exceptionally good, beautiful, fantastically made, great performance and all that kind of stuff, but it's still $350, which makes it one of the priciest ones on the market. So yeah, it looks fabulous and it behaves fabulous, but it also costs quite a bit. I'm trying to think of more cons. It looks like a small list, so I'm really trying to think of more cons, but the usual ones that were constantly present, like absence of screen protector, they've done that. The pen is like usually, they've done that. Okay, so a con could be that the pen is white instead of gray, but we're talking about the tiny little thing. But okay, sure, that can be a con, and if we're talking about that, then I have to mention that the magnetic cover as well with the buttons, that it doesn't have the same color as the device. So yeah, at a price range I would expect that to be also kind of nailed, so it's perfect. In this case it's not. It should have been, definitely should have been, because Nova Air is a lot about the appearances as well as the functionality, and the appearances part for the accessories kind of fell short, and it doesn't match the device itself. So that's not such a huge con, but it is a con that I will mention as well. Alright, and now for the pros. Well, pro number one is the design and the build quality. This thing is built exceptionally well. The quality just oozes all over the place. It looks modern, it feels modern. It's finally not just an iterative tablet design, it's just another tablet. It has a distinctive look, and it has a slate type of a feel and a slate type of a look. The all metal construction on the back, different type of alloy, you can actually feel that it's harder. The construction of the whole thing, the buttons, everything is just super high class, and it feels really really premium, which it's supposed to because it costs quite a bit as well. But the good thing here is that yes, you pay $350 for it, but you get a device that feels like $350 or more, actually, in this case, because it really does feel and look premium. It's an absolute joy to use. So yeah, the design, the ergonomics of it, all of it, the weight of it, the thinness of it, like, because obviously that's where the pros are going to be here, because that's the whole point of this device, to modernize it. And for me, they've done a 10 out of 10. Another pro would be the very first time for the mydeepguide and Boox. Believe it or not, the pen. The Boox pen is actually a pro. So yes, we're finally there. Is it ideal? Nope, it needs the button and all that kind of stuff, but the writing feel, the quality, the magnet, the indication of where to place the magnet and all of these kinds of things, you can see the iterative process and that they were listening and documenting. Okay, this is not good, we need to fix that, we fixed that, blah, 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 blah. And they did. And the difference between this pen, how it feels when you're writing, and the one that you got with Note Air is like night and day. I mean, I tried the other one on Nova Air as well, and it's as horrible as it was before. This one is a whole different ball game. New tips, new feeling of the tips, the better manufacturing of this, better magnet, just feels really, really good. It just lacks that eraser and a button thing, but I personally can live without it, and it's just a joy to see that this time we finally have a complete package. Other pros are all of the same ones that you had for the Nova 3. So exceptional reader, this time really, really good writing capabilities out of the box because of the pen and the applied screen protector. Tremendous specifications and power of the device. Thinness, lightness, portability, accessories are really good and varied. Although I found myself using the wallet most of the time, basically all of the time, simply because it's thinner and lighter and it protects the device better. The magnetic cover is nice, but for me the colors didn't look okay. I didn't like the shininess on the side. It added to the thickness, it added to the weight. Not a lot, but necessary. You can't avoid that. So, and those magnetic covers, you know, they don't protect the device from the dust and things like that. So while it's far more practical and convenient, it has those buttons for page swiping, my personal choice in this case went for the wallet and the device, and it just suited my needs better, but this is completely subjective. But either way, that just is another pro that I wanted to mention, which is wide enough variety of accessories so that you can choose what you need and they work well. Connectivity of the device with the USB OTG, with the screen sharing, with screen recording, and so much more. And again, Android 10. So while Android 10 learning curve is a con, it's also an Android 10, so you have the full openness and full power of the Android 10 platform, which is huge. So how to summarize the Nova Air? Well, I'll keep it brief and short. For me, pretty much close to perfect. And now that it has to go back to another reviewer, I know what I'm going to be doing. And yeah, I think that I got used to this one so much that I really don't want to spend a day without it. So yeah, they got me. I think I'm going to be ordering this one. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it has a smaller battery. And yes, it has a screen protector that will affect the reflectivity a little bit, as I've shown during this video, and also the text, if you can actually notice it. But I think that you have to kind of go like really, really in depth with the magnifying glass or something to kind of find, and you got to look for those differences in order to actually see them. In reality, when you're just using it, you don't really notice it, but some people are all about that, so that's something that you got to keep in mind. For me personally, I don't care about any of those things. It all works. The battery life is good enough for what I need. I hope that they improve the writing capabilities, but everything else, just the way it writes, the way it feels, and just how this device is right up my alley. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So the bottom line is Nova Air, for me, is the best Nova there ever was. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, like, subscribe, ding the notification bell to get notified when new videos come out on My Deep Guide. Also remember to check out the My Daily Organizer 2022, which was released almost, well, it's almost a week ago now. So that's kind of exciting to see that it's finally out and about and that you guys are liking it. So thank you so much for the support. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!